Hi, friends. Hi, second graders. I was dancing along to our song because now we can hear it in the TV classroom, and I enjoy that. I hope you're doing well today. Today is Monday, March 1st. I feel like just yesterday I said, Mr. Kevin, can you believe it's February? And now I'm going to say, Mr. Kevin, can you believe it's March?
March.
March. Friends, let's check in with our zones and see how we're feeling today. What zone are you in? Mr. Kevin, what zone are you in today?
That would be the green zone today.
Zone. Why are you in the green zone today?
Well, just happy to be alive, happy to be here, happy to be in the TV classroom with two wonderful, talented teachers.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Kevin. You're the best.
You. And how are you today, Miss Wall?
I'm also in the green zone. It was Oliver's birthday yesterday, and he turned 2. And he's talking in some sentences now. We were talking on FaceTime with one of our family members, and we don't have a dog, but Oliver loves dogs. His nanny has a dog, and then all 3 of my siblings, so both of my siblings and my mom, they have dogs as well. So every time we talk to them on FaceTime, because we can't see them because of COVID right now, he says, "See doggy, please. See doggy, please." And last night, he got all the dogs in my family, got him a pound puppy for his birthday. It's like a little stuffed dog.
Aww.
And so they gave him that for his birthday. So he showed my sister-in-law, Sarah, his doggy. He said, "What about your doggy?" It was very cute. So then she put her doggy up on the screen. It was great. Anyway, little story about Oliver. I'm in the green zone.
Excellent.
Friends, make sure you share how you're feeling with your people around you at home or at daycare or at school, wherever you are. And don't forget to ask someone how they're feeling today and take interest in someone else's day. Before we begin, make a mental note and think about who you're going to ask today. And let's get going with Make It Monday. Friends, how could we make this number the number 75? What could we do? What's one way to make it? Oh, yep, we could do the value of each digit. So that 7 is actually what? 70. And that 5 is 5. 75. I don't know, Mr. Kevin, why that part right there doesn't want to write. So I'm just going to move it down so we can see it. 70 plus 5. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. How else can we make 75? What was that, Gus? Gus said, I know 25 plus 25 plus 25 makes 75 because 3/4 makes 75 cents.
Gus and I were thinking the same.
Oh, you have another one, Gus? What is it? If you take $1 and you spend 25 cents, you get 75 cents back. Very good, Gus, very good. Let's take a look at our learning target for today. Today, we're gaining fluency with the strategies for adding 3-digit numbers. So today's gonna be a lot of, here's your problem, solve it, check your answer. At this point, if you're not understanding adding 3-digit numbers, it is really, really important that you reach out to your teacher and say, I'm struggling with this. It's still not making sense to me. I had to do that in my master's program. I had to email my professor and say, I'm still not understanding, can I please have help? It is okay to ask your teacher for help. That's why we're here. Or if you want to email me here at the TV classroom and ask, you can do that too. So go ahead, find each sum. What are the sums for both of these numbers? I'm going to give you 1 minute. Are you ready? Go. Okay, friends, let's take a look. Now, I have to tell you, I made a mistake when I was doing this, and I was able to catch it. I said 3 plus 7 is 10. And when I went to add up all my parts, I went, wait a minute. 3 plus 7 is 100. 30 plus 70 is 100. That's 3 tens and 7 tens. Even someone who knows how to do math, is getting a master's in teaching math, who teaches math on TV, can go too fast and make a mistake. That's why we always check our work. And that's why I love this strategy, because it really makes it so you check your work. The answer for the first problem is 704, and the answer for the second problem is 924. Because 9 plus 5 is 14. There's that 10 we had to move over. And then 20 plus 90 is 110. So now we have 2 tens to add together. And then we had to regroup this 100 right here, so we get 900s. Pretty cool, huh? Now, your parents might say, well, this is what I did when I was a kid, and this is fine. It's 14, so here's 14, the 10 and the 4. That's all they're doing. They're taking it from being here and just moving it up there. And then they're saying, well, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 120. So that's going to be the 20, and then we're going to put the 100 up here. They would normally just put 120 like that, right? And then 6, 7, 8, 9. Same answer. What they're doing is it's just shorthand for doing that long piece. It's the exact same math. We're doing the exact same thing. We're just writing it differently. Either way works. We call this the standard algorithm. If that makes sense to you, use it, but be able to explain what you're doing. All right. First problem we're going to look at. Which are the ways to show 203 plus 160? Go ahead, solve. You have 2 minutes. Okay, friends, let's take a look at what I did and let's see if we can find the answers. So I've got here 203 plus 160. I did 360, 300, I'm gonna add it together. Look at that, 300 plus 60 plus 3. So A is a way, we could do A. Whoop. Okay, A. What about 300 plus 90? Does that work? Nope. And then 200 plus 100 plus 60 plus 3. Look, 200 plus 100 plus 60 plus 3. I did this way too, where I took it over to the side and put it in expanded form and then added all the values together, so that works. What if I decide, instead of to do 360 plus 3, what if I do 3 plus 60 plus 300? Does that work? Yes. And what if I do 3 plus 6 plus 100 plus 200? Does that work? No, it has to be 60. So the ways we can solve this are A, C, and D. Let's go to the next problem. Jane writes 700 plus 90 plus 9 to add two 3-digit numbers. What sum could she be finding? Ooh, this is tricky. 700 plus 90 plus 9. So we've got to decide. Let's go through each one and decide, is it what sum she's finding. So 300, my pen is starting to dry out. You can show my whiteboard, Mr. Kevin. 354 plus 455. So we've got 4 plus 5 is 9. 50 plus 50 is 100. 30 plus 40 is 700. 700, nope, it's not that one, because that's 700 plus 100 plus 9, so it's not that one. 396 plus 313, so we've got 6 plus 3 is 9. 90 plus 10 is 100. And 30 plus 30 is 300. Sorry, 600. But that's not 700 plus 90 plus 9. So that's not going to work either. 521, you can write this with me, plus 278. 8 and 1 is 9. 70 and 20 is 90. And 500 and 200 is 700. Do we have 790 and 9? Yes, we do. We found it. The answer is C. Now, sometimes there can be more than one answer, so let's double check that last one. We'd have 0 plus 0 is 0. Is that going to be our answer? Nope, because we need a 9. So our answer was C. Find 563 plus 127. Fill in a hundreds chart, complete the equation. Go ahead, you have 1 minute. Solve. All right, friends. 563 is going to be 5 hundreds, 6 tens, 3 ones. 127 is going to be 100, 2 tens, and 7 ones. So how many hundreds do I have? 6. How many tens do I have? 8. How many ones do I have? 10. So what's the answer going to be? What's 6 hundreds plus 8 tens plus 10 ones, or another 10? 690 is our answer because 10 ones is the same as one group of 10. So now we don't have 8 tens, we have 9 tens. Last problem. Write the missing number on the open number line, then write the addition equation that the number line shows. Let's just talk about what we see right here. What's happening on this number line? Which way are they going? Are they going forward or backward? How did you know? The arrows, they tell us this arrow right here. Do you see it right here? This thing right here? It says it's going this way. So we're going from here and we're doing this. So what are our missing numbers? We're at 632. They add 200. What's that going to be? And then they go to 862. What's that? See if you can figure it out. You have 1 minute. Begin. Okay, friends, I'm at 632 and I go 200. That puts me at what? 832. So now I'm at 832 and I hop to 862. How many hops did I make? 30, because 832 plus 30 equals 862. So then we're gonna add 9 from 862 to get our final number. What's the equation though? We took 632, and how much did we add? Look at the hops they made, put them together. What's 200 plus 30 plus 9? 239. What did you get for the solution here in the box? What's 862 plus 9? Well, I know 862 plus 8 is 870, plus 1 more is 871. So 632 plus 239 is 871. That is the answer you should have gotten. Now again, if this wasn't making sense to you, it is so important that you reach out to your teacher or to me here at the TV Classroom and let us know, because we can help you in other ways. There are more ways to explain this, and we would love to help you. And I know your teacher would love to help you as well. So please reach out if this is not making sense, okay, friends? Your assignment for today is to do page 412 in your math workbook. Today, oh, Mr. Kevin, I thought I checked it.
That's okay, Miss Wally.
Friends, I thought I checked it, and today we gained, I don't know why it's doing that. Gained fluency with the strategies for adding 3-digit numbers. I'm sorry you can't read the gained. It's not letting me write it correctly. We chose a strategy that works for our own brain and the numbers. We fluently used that strategy to solve addition or subtraction problems, and we found a solution. Great job, friends. Mr. Kevin, how can they ask us questions here at the TV Classroom?
Well, you can ask an adult to help you if you need it, to email us, tvclassroom@tacoma.k12.wa.us. You can always mail us in the regular mail to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Now, friends, it's time for your break. During your break, you need to gather your materials for your ELA lesson and take a break. Make sure to get your wiggles out, get a drink, then be back when Miss Oslin's on the screen. I hope you have a great rest of your day, second graders. I will see you next time. Bye.
Rules. 1. You have 10 seconds to pick your crewmate. 2. A new timer will appear with an exercise for the crewmate you picked. 3. You will get 10 points for each correct crewmate and exercise you choose. 4. If you pick the imposter, you will lose all your points. 5. See how many points you can get. Good luck.
Hi, second graders. Welcome back from your break. Excellent job having your materials ready to go for our lesson. You can take your ELA packet, your pencil, your reading notebook, and put them off to the side. You won't need those quite yet, but go ahead and hold on to your learning buddy if they are going to help you focus today. You'll remember that we have been looking at traditional fiction stories. Specifically, we've been focusing on folk tales. You'll remember that folk tales are stories that are passed on from generation to generation. And they're usually told orally. However, most of them are written down now. And as I said, they were passed on through storytelling, orally storytelling, which is really important for different cultures. We read Little Red Riding Hood, a newfangled prairie tale, which is a new version of a really old folk tale. Let's take some time and think about what other folk tales do you know of? Turn and tell your learning buddy what you were thinking. Gus, I just read, what's it called? Oh, The Ugly Duckling, which is a folk tale that I'm pretty familiar with. Now, if you're not familiar with any folk tales yet, that is okay. We will continue our study and we're going to keep reading more together. Now, the book we're going to read today called Tony's Bread by Tommy DePaula. And we're going to read this and think about what the author says about this folktale, because I'm not familiar with this folktale. Mr. Kevin, are you familiar with Tony's Bread?
I've never heard it.
Okay, so let's read the author's note, or a note about the story. And I know this is really, really small. I have a copy here that I'm going to read from. Who can resist the wonderful taste of the Italian bread panettone, made with eggs, raisins, and candied fruit? This cake-like bread has a strong association with the northern Italian city of Milan, and especially with the Caffè Moda, situated across from the cathedral, the Duomo, in the world-famous Galleria, the elegant glass-enclosed shopping arcade where the Milanese promenade on Sunday afternoons. Every Christmas, Moda sends boatloads of panettone to the United States so Americans can enjoy it along with their Milanese counterparts. Like any good and unique food, panettone has several stories explaining its creation. The one that captured my imagination concerns a baker, his daughter, and a rich young man. I have taken great liberties in this tale, except for the three wise zia, or aunties. Everyone who knows anything about the Italians will recognize the three ladies in black who are so inseparable that they form a single silhouette. Buona lettura, good reading, Tommy DePaula. Wow, that's so interesting. And I was thinking about the bread that we're going to be introduced to in this, and it made me think of, what's that bread that we usually have around Christmas time that has the candies in it? Do you know what I'm thinking of, Mr. Kevin?
Yes. And I don't recall the name.
What's it called? I'll think of it. It'll come to me in the middle of this lesson, I bet. So already I'm making a connection with this story, and that's going to help me better understand and remember what we're reading. Now, we've already talked about in this unit the story elements that are included. Mr. Kevin?
Fruitcake.
Fruitcake. There it is. Thank you. So sounds very similar to fruitcake, which is a traditional American bread that we have usually around the holidays. So we've already learned about the traditional story elements in a folktale, that they have characters, a setting, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we talked also about how folktales use literary language, and literary language helps us know that these are folktales that we are reading. And today we're going to recognize other common elements of traditional folktales, such as elements of folktales. I'll zoom in. Literary language, language that lets us know this is a folktale. And it might sound like, once upon a time, once a long time ago, or a long, long time ago. And this establishes the time frame and lets us know that these stories happened a long time ago. And because these stories usually originate from a specific area in the world, they also include cultural language. Cultural language are words specific to the part of the world where the stories come from. So in this case, Tony's Bread, we read in our author's note that this story originates from Italy. So we can expect while we're reading to encounter some Italian words. Some other common elements of folktales are characters or events in three, and Tommy DePella already told us that we're going to encounter 3 ants in this story. Use trickery to complete a quest or resolve a problem. So we're going to pay really close attention to that as we read Tony's Bread. And folktales usually have a happy ending. Tony's Bread, an Italian folktale. Once, a long time ago, oh, I notice already right off the bat, Tommy DePalla is including some literary language, letting us know that this story comes from a long time ago. Once, a long time ago, in a small village outside the grand city of Milano, there lived a baker named Antonio, but everyone called him Tony. Tony made bread, and only bread, in his bakery. It was good and simple, and the villagers loved it. But Tony had a dream. One day, he would have a bakery of his own in Milano and become the most famous baker in all of northern Italy. Now, we know that this is not a modern-day story because Tommy DePalla has included that literary language, once a long time ago. We're going to keep reading. Pay attention to the literary language, the cultural language, the threes, and any trickery that might happen to solve the problem. Now, Tony lived with his only daughter, Serafina. He was a widower, and he had raised Serafina from the time she was una piccolo bambina, a little girl, and how he had spoiled her. Antonio treats Serafina like una principessa, a princess, said Zia Clotilda. The finest clothes, the finest jewelry, anything her heart desires, said Zia Caterina. She never has to lift a finger. All she does is sit looking out the window, eating dolce, sweets, said Zia Clorinda. Now that she is old enough to marry, Tony thinks that no man is good enough for his Serafina. The 3 sisters whispered to each other. There's our characters of 3. That was true. Tony did think that no man was worthy of his darling daughter. He would not even talk to the young men in the village who wanted to court Serafina. So poor Serafina would sit at the window behind the curtains, eating her dolce and crying. Lots of cultural language there on that page. We have una piccola bambina, which means a little girl. We have una principessa, which means a princess. And then the ants are all called Zia, which must mean aunt. And then dolce, which means sweet. One day, Angelo, a wealthy nobleman from Milano, was passing through the village. As he went by Tony's house, the wind blew the curtains away from the window, and there sat Serafina. Angelo and Serafina looked into each other's eyes, and it was love at first sight for both of them. The 3 sisters were standing nearby. Dear ladies, Angelo asked them, who is that lovely creature sitting in that window? Che bella donna, what a beautiful woman. Is she married or spoken for? Ah, young signor, said Zia Clotilda. That is Serafina, the daughter of Tony the baker. No, she is not married. And not likely to be for a long time, said Zia Caterina. No one is good enough for Tony's little Serafina, Zia Clorinda explained. Well, We'll see about that, said Angelo. Now, aunties, tell me all you can about her. The young nobleman and the three sisters sat and talked and talked and talked, and before long, Angelo knew all about Serafina and Tony the baker. And he knew all about Tony's dream of becoming the most famous baker in all of northern Italy. Grazie, aunties. Thank you, said Angelo. I think I have a plan that will give Tony his dream and give me the wife of my dreams. But I need your help. This is what I want you to do. The next day, a letter arrived at the bakery from Tony, or for Tony. Dear Signor Baker, I am Angelo, a nobleman from Milano. I was passing through your village and was lucky enough to taste your fine bread. Would you be so kind as to meet me in front of the church after Mass on Sunday so we may talk? I have a proposal to make to you. Angelo di Milano. And a secret letter arrived at Tony's house for Serafina. Dear Bella Serafina, I saw you at your window and I love you. Here's a ring to keep as a symbol of my adoration. It will not be long before we are husband and wife. Love, Angelo, your true love. Okay, I think I know what's happening here. You take some think time. Think about the elements of folk tales that we're learning about. See if you can figure out what's going on. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you're thinking. Gus, we learned that one element of folk tales is trickery. I think Angelo is going to try to trick Tony to solve this problem. Did you say the same thing? Let's keep reading and see if we're right. And Zia Clotilda, Zia Caterina, and Zia Clorinda did their part. Oh, Tony, did you see that rich young man from Milano? Zia Clotilda asked. He wanted to know all about you. It seems he just loved your bread, said Zia Caterina. Nothing like it in all Milano, he said, Zia Clorinda told Tony. Why, I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to meet you the way he went on. Well, dear ladies, funny you should say that, because he does want to meet me after Mass on Sunday, said Tony. His name is Angelo di Milano. Imagine that, the three women exclaimed. Che bella fortuna, what good luck for you. And for Serafina, they whispered to each other. And so, Signor Antonio, I would be most pleased if you and, did I skip a page? No. If you and your lovely daughter would come to Milano as my guests, Angelo said. And if you like our city, I would be proud to set you up in a fine bakery of your own near Piazza del Duomo, the cathedral square. Your fame would be assured, Signor Antonio. I will see to that. Tony couldn't believe his ears. His dream was about to come true. Why, thank you, Signor Angelo, but please call me Tony. All my friends do. Also, Signor Tony, Angelo continued, the advantages for your beautiful daughter would be great. I admit I would not find it unpleasant for Serafina to sit beside me at my great table as my wife, the daughter of Tony, the most famous baker in all of Milano. That did it. Tony agreed, and off he and Serafina went with Angelo. Together they walked all the small streets around the cathedral square and visited all the bakeries and pastry shops. I'd like to do that. They tasted torta, cake, biscotti, cookies, and pane, bread. And Tony was depressed. The bread alone was nothing Tony had ever tasted. Bread made out of the finest, whitest flour. Bread shaped like pinwheels, bread with seeds of all sorts scattered over the top. It's no use, Signor Angelo, said a very sad Tony. I can never compete with all of these fine bakeries and pastry shops. All I can make is bread, and very simple bread at that. I would be the laughing stock of Milano. It is better if Serafina and I just go home." "No, never," Angelo shouted. "Oh, Papa, no," Serafina cried. Not only was she in love with Angelo, but she was looking forward to living in that grand house with all those good things to eat. "If only you could make bread that tasted as good and sweet as the candied fruit and these raisins," Serafina said. "Or," Angelo said, getting another idea, "as rich and sweet as this cup of punch made from milk and eggs and honey." "Milk, eggs, honey," Tony said, thinking out loud. "Candied fruit," Serafina said. "Raisins," Angelo chimed in. "That's it," all three shouted. "I shall make the richest, lightest, most wonderful bread anyone has ever tasted. Out of the whitest flour, the biggest eggs, the creamiest milk, the sweetest candied fruit, and the plumpest raisins," Tony shouted. "Oh, Papa," Serafina cried, kissing her father. "Servants," Angelo called, and he sent them off to buy all the fine ingredients Tony would need. Now remember, one element of folktales is that they have a happy ending. Let's see if we get our happy ending. The next morning, Tony, Serafina, and all the supplies headed back to the little village, and Tony began to work. Day after day, he experimented until he had mixed the lightest, richest dough with as many raisins and as much candied fruit as he could put into it. Now he was ready to bake. He sent word to Angelo in Milano that he should come to the bakery the next afternoon. Then he set out the dough in large bowls and went to bed. As Tony slept, the dough began to rise and rise and rise. The next morning, he filled every pan in his shop. One piece of dough was left over, so he threw it in a flour pot and baked it too. When Angelo arrived, the bread was just coming out of the oven. Everyone held his breath and waited while Tony cut a slice of his new bread. Angelo tasted it. Serafina tasted it. Tony tasted it. Zia Clotilda, Zia Caterina, Zia Clorinda all tasted it. "That's it," they shouted. "I'll take these loaves back to Milano to see what my friends say," Angelo said, and off he went. In just a few days, a letter and a large cart filled with ingredients arrived in the village. "Dear Tony, here are more supplies. Make as much bread as you can and send it to me. Then I will send for you. I promise you will enter Milano with flags flying and Serafina will be mine. Your future son-in-law, Angelo. P.S. Please bake all the loaves in flower pots. My friends like the shape of that loaf the best." Just before Christmas, Angelo sent for Tony and Serafina. Sure enough, when their coach entered Milano, crowds were cheering and flags were flying. "Benvenuto, Tonio." "Welcome, Tony," the crowds cheered. "Benvenuto." The bishop and the mayor were there to greet Tony and Serafina. "And," said the mayor, "Milano is happy to have you here, so we may always have enough of your wonderful bread." The next day, when the bakery door was open, the bishop's guards were called to keep order. All of Milano was there, except for Serafina and Angelo, who were being married quietly in a small chapel in the cathedral. All during the wedding, they could hear the crowds cheering, calling for pan di Tonio, Tony's bread. And to this day, the panettone of Milano is eaten and enjoyed, especially at Christmas. Brava, Serafina. Bravo, Angelo. Bravo, Tony. Okay, think about the ending. Was it a happy ending like we thought it might be because it was a folk tale? It did seem to be, yeah. Tony got to make bread in Milano. Serafina and Angelo got to be married. Folktales often teach readers a lesson. Is there any lesson that we learned from this one? Not that I really noticed. I don't know. I'll have to keep thinking about that. Now, let's review. Today we learned about the elements of folktales. We learned that they include literary language that lets us know usually that the story comes from a long time ago, usually once upon a time or a long, long time ago. They often include the cultural words from which the culture they came. There were lots of Italian words in Tony's bread. They also have characters or events in threes, like the three aunts. They have trickery to complete a quest, where our nobleman tried to trick Tony. And then folktales usually have a happy ending. And I would say that Serafina and Angelo marry, and Tony becomes the famous baker that he wanted. Today we learned to recognize the common elements of traditional folktales. You're going to keep these in mind as you do your independent reading today. And what I want you to do is, if you don't have folktales at home or that you can get from the library, you can ask your teacher if they can gather some folktales for you. You could also ask our local Tacoma librarians. They would love to be able to do that for you. Or you could go back to some of our previous TV classroom lessons. And on our special edition Wednesdays, we've had several of our guests tell folktales. We had our Peace Queen tell a folktale, we had Quabi and Simon told a folktale, and we had Anthony Bluehorse tell a folktale. So you can go back and listen to those again and think about those story elements and write about them in your reader's notebook. And you can send those to us here at our TV classroom. We would love to hear all about the folktales that you are analyzing, which means you're looking at the details. Mr. Kevin, how can our second graders send us their writing about their folktales?
Via email, they can send them to TV Classroom at tacoma.k12.wa.us. Or you can send it in the mail, TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405. We're right next to Tony's Bakery. You can't miss us. Arrivederci.
It always smells so good here, and I always wondered why. Now it's time for our affirmation. This is the time of day when we get to say positive things about ourselves before we go off to do our independent reading and writing. So second graders, today, the affirmation I want you to remind yourself is, I can do hard things. Take a deep breath and say that out loud with me. I can do hard things. Excellent job today, second graders. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you back here next time in our TV classroom. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.